Hello YouTubers, today I am exchanging the thermostat and the engine coolant temperature sensor on my 2015 Chevy Silverado 1500. I'm going to make a couple videos here of how to do that. Starting out today, you can see a few of the tools I've got out here that I'm going to need, and we'll use those as we go here. But first of all, where is that thermostat? You can see right under there where the big hose connects. That's black part, that's the thermostat. It just screws in to the part of the engine there. And on the opposite side of that, there's a small hose, probably hard to see here, but that's where the coolant temperature sensor is located. In order to get to that, you need to remove this air dampener, which is actually pretty simple. There's a screw over here, can loosen and then pull this part off of the air filter, and then another screw down in here that you loosen up, and then you pop these off. I've already done that, but you just push the gray top here and pull off. Over here you actually push on the bottom and those pop off and just kind of move back. And then this air dampener should, if I did it right, just pull out of there. And I'll set that off to the side, and now we get a better view here. Here's the thermostat piece that we're going to exchange, and then in here's the sensor. So while I have this apart, and I usually do this every fall anyway, check or replace my air filter. That's in this this compartment here. I'm using a 8755A air filter, so while it's apart, I'll check that and change it if needed. All right, so as you can see, I've got the air dampener out of the way here. On the coolant temperature sensor, there's just a little squeeze part on the left side here that I squeeze and lift up and to get that connector off. Our 2018 Tahoe, where I performed this a couple weeks ago, it had a locking clip in there, which you can just get a small pick in and pull out. Next, there were the clamps that were here holding this hose in place. I just pinched it and I moved it up to this location. Same thing on this hose that connects to the thermostat down here. I pinched this clamp and moved it up so it's out of the way. So I'm ready to take these hoses off. I should show you as well, or tell you, in the manuals, like the Haynes manual, they'll tell you to go underneath and drain the antifreeze out of the radiator. And I thought about doing that, but I thought maybe I drained too much or didn't know when to stop. So I've actually made the choice to just take these hoses off and let the antifreeze drain down through the engine compartment to the floor. I do have towels here and rags underneath to catch as much as I can, and so that's my plan. And then I'll also hose out the engine compartment when I'm done. When I did this a couple of weeks ago with the Tahoe, I pulled this hose off, which I'll do now, and as you can see, there'll be antifreeze that starts coming out. I used rags and caught as much of that as I could. It took over an hour to slowly drain out and stop, and it was a lot of effort, and I still got antifreeze all over the engine compartment in the end. So today I'm just going to take that hose off and let it drain. This other hose that I pulled off, I'm going to use just a small piece of rope that you can see sitting here, and just kind of tie it to hold it up so that it's higher than the rest of the system. I'm going to do the same thing with this hose. Once I pull it off there, I will have a cup here to take a little bit out of that hose and put it in the cup, but then I'm going to also tie that hose up so it's nice and high here and nothing else comes out of it. So I'm just going to let that drain here for a little bit. What I'm probably going to do when I lose my patience and don't want to wait anymore, I'll just start taking these 3 bolts off that are on this thermostat, and then the fluid will drain a little faster as I loosen that thermostat up. All right, so the antifreeze has drained. It was coming out of this small piece here. I did loosen up the bolts around and moved the thermostat a little bit so it came out around the edges here. As you can see, I've got 2 bolts out. One is loose here, and I'll just take that bolt out, and then this thermostat should just lift right out of there. There we go. As you can see, there's a black gasket that's there on the engine yet, and I will need to pull that out as well. I actually have a cup over here. I see this thermostat has some fluid in it. I'm just gonna set that in that cup. And here's the gasket that needs to come off. The new thermostat that you bought should have that on there. Also wipe off around where that gasket was. That's just good practice for anything you do. And then this is the engine coolant temperature sensor, which I unscrewed most of the way and just pull that out. Doesn't look too bad. So why am I doing this today in the first place? The temperature gauge in the truck should run about 207, just a hair left of that 210 line. And mine will go down to 260, it'll go up to the 210 and kind of bounce back and forth, or even just kind of be in the middle of that. So the thermostat is working, but not as good as it should. And I did this, as I mentioned earlier, in our 2018 Tahoe a couple weeks ago. And ever since then, that temperature gauge has sat right at 207 where it should. So I wasn't sure if it was the thermostat or the coolant temperature sensor, and since I was going to drain some fluid here anyway and be right here working, I thought I'd replace both. The thermostat I got on Amazon, I think it was about 38 bucks, and I think I paid about $22 for that temperature sensor. And then I bought a gallon of Dex-Cool coolant at Walmart for around 11 bucks. So start adding that all together, you know, probably 70-80 bucks in parts, and this is probably going to take me an hour and a half or maybe 2 hours here to do this today. If I wasn't taking video, it'd probably be a lot faster. But anyway, I thought I'd just replace both while I'm in here, since it's fairly low cost. One thing I did as well is I did replace this air filter, as I mentioned I was going to do. So you can see the screws there are Phillips. They also have hex on them, so you can use a socket. There's a screw down in here that's hard to get to and get a screwdriver on, so I do use an 8mm socket to take that off. And just as a reminder, the thermostat, the 3 bolts there are 10mm, and then to get that coolant temperature sensor out, I use a 3/4 inch deep well socket. Some places will tell you 19mm. Of course, I had 18mm and nothing bigger, so I used the 3/4 and it fit on there perfect. So I'm going to prepare to put the new parts in here. I will put the part numbers in the description here. All right, so my new parts are installed. Thermostat right here, engine coolant temperature sensor. Be careful with these bolts. I believe they have it in inch pounds, but in foot pounds, when you torque these, it's like 7.4, which is pretty light. So just be careful with that. The engine coolant temperature sensor is 15 foot-pounds. So once you put those in, you can just put the clip back on until it clicks in place, and then I give it a little tug, see if it comes loose. Put the hoses back on, and then these clamps, slide those back down in place, and I usually give those a tug as well. So that's it. Well, no, it's not. I lied. So now you have to look at your coolant reservoir, and you can see mine is pretty much empty. There's a little off to the side there. But go ahead and open the cap on that and pour the fluid in until it's up to the full cold. And likely there's some air in the system here. You'll want to run the car on high heat for a little bit, take it for a ride down the road. Once it cools off, top off that full cold, and I'll check it for a few days, make sure it's where it's supposed to be. And I know when I did the Tahoe as well, I added a little bit over the course of a couple days. So that's really it. By the way, I bought a full gallon of Dex-Cool with the Tahoe. It took about 2/3 of a gallon, maybe 3/4. So buy the whole gallon and you'll probably use most of it. If you have another vehicle that uses that, you can use the rest to top that off if you need to. Next step here is to put that air dampener back on. Just reverse the steps of taking it off with the clamp that goes on here, and then a clamp that goes here to the air filter, and then pull these back around and snap those in place. I will, since I just let the fluid drain down the engine block here, once I get this thing running, make sure everything's sealed up good, I will take a hose and lightly spray off inside the engine compartment here so that the leftover antifreeze isn't sitting there. And like I said, I'll watch that fluid level for a couple days and we should be good to go. Hey, thanks for watching today. Remember to hit that subscribe button and leave me any comments. I'd like to hear your feedback. And as always, it's a great day to have a great day. So get out there and have a great day. As you can see now, after I made this change, my temperature's right at that 210.